Welcome to Detroit in Black and White. This is our Wednesday edition. Jim Nardone. What's up, man?
Good evening. Hello, Janet. Hello, Dwayla. Glad to see you guys. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. We're moving forward with the Adolph hurricane, and I'm going to try and assist, and you guys can all help and assist too. Thank you. Well, Adolph is closing his window because the hurricane is blowing out. The hurricane's got to blow out, not blow in.
Oh, man, I couldn't hear. Well, anyway, we had former Detroit police chief James Craig on the last show, and we got a lot of feedback. I did. And, you know, I was watching the national news the other night, and this team takeover is not just a Detroit issue. It's an issue around the country. How do you deal with it? Now, I'm going to say, I hate to say I told you so. When I advocated during the mayoral election that the city should take over the school system. And I had people beat up on me. We had all the major mayoral candidates on. Nobody wanted to touch the subject. And now we have this team takeover. Where the fuck is the superintendent of the schools? The
So a
city
couple
got to
things.
work with the schools. Where's the city council? Where's the school board? None of them said a damn thing. The DPS has a police. They still got DPS police.
Yes,
I don't know because you don't see them nowhere. It has to be they got to work with the schools, and the schools need to work with the city. It just VD's making $500,000 a year. They saying he the greatest ever, and the guy has been invisible. And what's going to happen when they talk about going here and going there? We don't have enough cops. Where's the gang squad? I agree with the former police chief saying that negotiate with them, and we are negotiating with them. And and you got these folks saying, I don't have to stop, and I can do whatever I want to do. The only way you kill a snake is you cut off the head, and you got to monitor that social media, and you got to play chess. You can't play checkers with these folks. You can't. You cut the head off. You stop most of this.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate. First, I'm gonna say hello, Derek Henry, 7031. Good evening to you, Mr. 1213, Janet Overall. Hello, Janet. Stephanie Jackson, our friend Stephanie. Eric Brown, our colleague and friend. Janet, where are the parents? Les, our youth may be reacting to this country's toxic political climate. That's an interesting take. Tamari Kemet, good evening to you. Bring it, Tamari. Don't stop being Tamari. Don't stop. Mega Craig adopted NYPD stop and frisk policy, according to Les.
This is not stop and frisk. It's a totally different ball game. It's not stop and frisk as when you just stop somebody because how they look. And you cannot stop a kid that's downtown just walking down the sidewalk. All I'm saying is that they come down in packs and they all part of that. You got to do something. what you gonna do? You get the parents. You got to crack down. We went through this shit. Listen, Mary Sheffield, the new mayor, talks a great game, but talk is cheap and talk is bullshit. Now, when you gonna show that you was in charge? The buck stops right at her desk.
Well, I'm going to touch on Les's point, if I may, from a criminal justice standpoint. So back in the early, I guess it goes back probably 30 years now. A guy named Jack Maple and Bill Bratton invented what was called CompStat. And what they did is put the resources where the crime was. And there was a big, in the beginning, CompStat was very effective. It was a brutal system to attack leadership when the crime rates went up in their particular, I'll call it a zone for lack of a precinct, whatever you want to call it. Well, now we're looking back on CompStat, and it's not exactly everything it was cracked up to be. Hi, Joe Sheridan, good to see you. But I think that when you say he followed Bill Bratton's Boston, New York, Los Angeles. Every big city department has a crime data center, and they, the resources are limited. Detroit doesn't have 5,500 cops like they once did. It has 3,000 or whatever the number is. But
there was 5,000 cops
sure.
at one point. Yes.
But I got a couple things about, and I want to go back. First, I'm going to ask you, Adolph, you can think on this while I'm doing my little intro. So you're ready to turn the schools over to Mary Sheffield and Team Sheffield?
Well, I don't know, but I always thought that the city should play a major role in how the schools were run. We wouldn't have lost 160,000 students. We just sat by and let them leave. It's just unbelievable. You got to do something.
Well, I want to start with this. This last week, going back to the teen takeover shooting, a 17-year-old, Ramon Javon Perez Smith, was arrested and charged as an adult with assault with intent to murder, assault with intent to commit great bodily harm, felonious assault, carrying a concealed weapon, and 3 counts of felony firearm as an adult. And I want to offer my apology to the prosecutor because I said they weren't going to do it, and she did her job, and I need to give her credit. I need to apologize because I jumped the gun, and they did what they were supposed to do here. So I want to just talk about Todd Bettison, James Craig, and that group of policing officials in Detroit, because I think, number one, Todd Bettison is a friend of the show, and he has hosted the show. I've co-hosted the show with Todd Bettison. Somebody said he should come on to defend himself. He has nothing to defend himself about. Nobody attacked or disparaged Todd Bettison. I will say this. Who we disparaged and who we were talking about is the political influence that oversees, and everybody has a boss, and Todd Bettison's boss is a lady by the name of Mary Sheffield, the mayor of the city of Detroit. Now, a couple things have happened in the last little bit with Todd Bettison. One was a young lady that called Border Patrol, and it looked like they overreacted on that. And even the chief talked about he was working with one of the city council people. We know who that is. It's a city council person from Southwest Detroit. And it didn't look good, right? And the teen takeovers, we're not talking bad about Todd Bettison. We respect everybody that's on this show respects Todd Bettison. I did say on the show that I called James Craig the real chief, and that's just giving him credit for being a chief for 8 or 9 years, right? Todd's been there a year and a half. But we like Todd Bettison, and nobody's talking negative about him or his leadership. He may be in a tough political environment.
He's damned if you do, damned if you don't. He has to answer to the mayor because he's an appointed position, and she can appoint him. No, that's my guy, Todd Bettison.
I think James Craig was a good guest. We love him or hate him. He's a good guest. He's not apologizing. One of our viewers criticized his MCOL status, and I think it might have been Dorian. I'm not sure who it was. So if it was somebody else, please let me know. I agree with you. He should have gone and got his MCOL certification. And Adolph had made a comment about being appointed the chief and not being a police officer.
And you don't have to be a police officer to be the chief.
He was not a certified police officer in the state
but that
of Michigan,
don't make him not qualified to be the chief. Listen, we had a newspaper reporter run the police department. That's the name of the game. That's politics. In
reality, he was no more of a certified police officer than you were, Adolph, when you
it's a civilian job. He decided he didn't want to be certified. He didn't get certified. Okay.
And he's not going to be out there making traffic stops and answering domestic violence calls. So when you're a big city police chief, certification may not be necessary. I wish he'd have went ahead and got it. And I agree with our viewer that's critical about it. Well, because
it's like in the military. If you there for life, 20 years, 30 years, and people say, "Oh, you didn't go to jump school. You're not a paratrooper. You're not this and shit." You don't have to do all that shit to prove that you're a good soldier, you're a good Marine, or you Air Force or Navy, Coast Guard, or whatever service. You decide what you want to be, and you be it. People. Now, if you are a police officer and you work for the police department, you have to be certified. But if you're in a civilian job position, the chief of police is a civilian position.
There is no law that requires the chief of police.
I can be the fucking police chief.
There's no law in Michigan that requires the chief of police to have certification.
Right.
With that title. That's absolutely correct. So
and you're right.
Kenneth Reed is hitting on the point that I'm glad
what
Kenneth.
What did I call the chief when he first came here? And me and him on butted heads when he talked about when he was almost carjacked. I started saying the coward of the county.
Well, that's what Kenneth's referring to. Being a certified police officer would have made a difference at that particular juncture. Thank you, Kenneth, for your point. Police chief not being certified, y'all tripping. Les, a great point is
we had Jerry Oliver. We had Jerry Oliver under Kwame. Not only wasn't certified, he had got convicted for spousal abuse 3 different times. Why was he here as a fucking police chief? But he was.
And Les is saying a police chief not certified, y'all tripping. Well, Les, I'm just telling you that under Michigan law, you do not have to be certified.
Yeah, Chief Craig was certified in
California,
in California because he was a regular police officer. Now, when he went to Cincinnati as the police chief, he didn't get certified.
Probably not.
And when he went to Portland, Maine, he wasn't certified, and they didn't ask him to be certified.
But I agree with Stephanie J. He said he was going to be certified, though. He told somebody that asked that question at some point.
I know.
Stephanie Jackson says certified with experience should be a requirement, and I don't want to get into the requirement. I agree with you, Stephanie. I agree with Les. I would have went through it because you know what? He might have been driving home at 3 a.m. after a shooting and want to stop a car, right? You can't do that if you're not a certified police officer. You don't have police powers.
What is certification?
Well, it's a license. License.
What do you do to be certified? Can I go get certified?
You have to go through a basic police academy and graduate. Or if you come from another state, it's a couple weekends that you have to spend. You have to go to the firing range. You have to qualify with all the weapons, and you have to have an update on Michigan law is what the biggest point of certification from another agency is outside the state. So, you know, Ohio has different laws and California has different laws than Maine. So I think certification is the right answer, but he decided not to do it. And that's the way it is, right?
Yeah. But let's get back to the kids. I just saw how these kids in other places, they've been going crazy. You can't arrest everybody that's out there. You got to go for the leaders, and they know who the leaders are because they want people to know this is my idea. I organize this. Well, you go and unorganize them. You got to kick some ass, and it's like the lead sheep in the slaughterhouse. They follow the leader. They let the lead sheep go through, and then everybody else come. They cut them up.
Dwayla's got a great question. How can we have a chief that can't carry a gun?
We had two chiefs that couldn't carry guns.
Well, one did, and he carried it to the airport.
Yes, but illegally he couldn't carry a gun. So,
I think that's correct. That's why going through the few week class would have been the right thing to do.
Andy Griffin didn't carry a gun.
No. Tamari makes a comment about
with Andy certified.
I want to go to Tamari's Kemet's point. Police routes are in America come from England, and common law from England. Police routes are slave catchers. I guess the question for you, Tamari, is I don't care if you're part of the union, if you work for Detroit Edison, everybody has leaders. Every cult has leadership, right? Every cult has somebody that Jerry Jones had people holding people responsible. The Hells Angels have people that are enforcement that hold people responsible. So you're talking about more than just policing when you make a comment like that, in my opinion.
About what? Slave catchers?
Yes.
Well, but that's true. Well, you know, the first police department in New Orleans was the slave catchers. There's no question about it.
We can talk about sundown towns and all that other stuff, but
you didn't have to, Jim. You didn't have to worry about that.
Right.
People, my grandfathers and my uncles and them that lived in South Carolina, they had to deal with that, man. I didn't have to deal with it, but they had to deal with it. And a lot of these people still alive, and they don't trust the police. Police don't trust them. In Detroit, they used to recruit cops from Mississippi, Alabama, because they said they knew how to deal with Negroes. That's what they said. So they recruited them there. So that there is a mistrust in the Black community of cops. But now we look at a Detroit Police Department that make up a large, it might be majority. I don't know what's the percentage of Black and white, but there's a majority of Black cops that's out there. And people only looking at the blue uniforms because people are still complaining about the police department. Now, most of the cops I know are good cops. There are some fucked up cops, make it bad for the folk, the many that work hard. Now, the problem that the police department has, and how do you bring this team takeover? How do you stop it? How do you calm it down without telling your officers to, by any means necessary?
Well, that's a great point. How do you stop it without all the blood and death? And Eric points out that Henrico County and Virginia, Washington, D.C. Henrico's Richmond. Sorry about that. Newark, Long Branch, New York, Middleton, Philadelphia, Hampton Beach, Valley Stream, Seattle, Hampton. I can't say that word. That's a beach. Narragansett Beach. Up, you're talking up and down the seaboard. Henrico is Richmond, suburban Richmond. I remember Durio when he was chief, he got caught. Exactly, Kenneth. We talked about that at Metro. He cracked on the officers, calling them fat and out of shape, and couldn't catch anybody in a foot chase. The origins of police did evolve from slavery, just like the term picnic. However, can we live with police today and mofos have no problem having picnics? But we can always look at the negative, right? And there's bad police. We see bad policing every day. When you have hundreds of thousands of cops, we see bad policing in federal agencies. We see bad, we see bad examples of the military in Vietnam and across the world, all kinds of militaries, right? Sometimes the wrong people are doing the wrong job. And in policing, unfortunately, it often ends in tragic circumstances, right? At the corner filling station, when you're talking about Andy, call it a filling station. If somebody puts a bad tire on your car, you might run into a tree, but, bad things happen, right?
Well, listen, my concern is, how do you stop the teen takeover? I want to ask our viewers out there, what would you do? What's the game plan? If you want to come on, you know where the QR code at, and you want to talk about it, because sooner or later, and my biggest concern is it's going to get to the point where Mayor Sheffield, is going to tell the police chief, by any means necessary, crack down. She don't care how it look, start warehousing them, and that's not the way to stop it.
Well, you mentioned the gang squad, Adolph. Why do you think the gang squad works? I wish.
Well, I when I worked for the city, I did a 2-week little run with the gang squad, and I saw how they work. Most of these so-called gangsters out there were cowards. When the gang squad, they feared the gang squad, and they didn't fear the police in the uniforms, but they feared the gang squad. And there was an incident where about 3 or 4 young guys shot at 2 police cars and stuff, and the gang squad came to work the next day. They put on their uniforms. They wasn't in plain clothes, and they went and marked police cars, and they kicked doors down. They knew where these folks was, and they was arresting folks, and they had them in a abandoned school in the basement. Had them handcuffed. These little assholes was crying, pissing on themselves. They calling their mama. I said, look, hour before they had a gun. They supposed to have been the baddest gangster in town. That was, and I saw, and they wasn't mistreating anybody, but they was kicking. They was kicking.
I participated with the gang squad in a couple of little incidents. If you think they weren't mistreating, if you think they weren't tough on people, Jill had an answer, Adolph.
They was tough. They was tough, and I didn't call that he didn't mistreat it. Go ahead.
Jill said, "I guess the mayor will have to institute a curfew. If not,
we already got a curfew. You just the bottom line is enforce it. We used to have truant officers. Enforce it. What happened to the transit police? Where's the DPS police? Well, all these, we got reserve cops. We got manpower, and if we need help, we got other police agencies the sheriff's department, the state police, and our neighbors who help us when we need them for the fireworks and events like this. Yeah, so get it together. The
Stephanie
city
says it's called parenting. Thank you, Stephanie.
the
It's
city
parent.
was caught shorthanded in the 80s during Devil's Night, and they was burning down neighborhoods. But Coleman Young got it together. I mean, got it together. It took about 2-3 years, but he got it together with the help of the folks that lived in the neighborhoods and stuff. Because when it was said and done, the only people that was trying to set stuff on fire was folks that was trying to get rid of their property, cars, and everything else. So you got to have a game plan. Got to have a game plan.
Well, here, let's go to Les's point. First, hello, Mr. Duckett. Thank you for joining us tonight. The super robust and highly surveillance programs are making people extremely uncomfortable. And I think, Les, I don't think you're wrong, Les. You know, how much of Big Brother do we have out there? You walk down the street, I guarantee you somebody has you on camera, right? You go into a restaurant, or you go into a retail store, or you go into Lululemon on Woodward, I guarantee you 3 weeks later, they can pull up your picture and see what size clothes you were looking at. It's kind of crazy, Les. License plate readers are under attack in some areas, but they're becoming very common in the Detroit metro area. Tamari, look it up. I'm Jim, Tamari, but what is the origin of policing in America? Well, that's not what I was taught. I guess I can't. I'm not going to try and change your perspective, but that's not
the catch slaves. That's the mentality. The slave catchers, the police department. I'm talking about in the South and in the North when slavery was part of this, because slaves were valuable, and they needed the law to help get back their valuables. So
So why is the mayor responsible and parents are not responsible? That's good.
The parents need to be responsible, but should we start arresting parents?
No, you can't arrest parents. That we talked about that on the show plenty of times. You know, you if a kid commits a crime, what kind of environment do we?
If a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old is out at 1 o'clock in the morning busting windows or whatever they're doing,
you can sue the parents. You can make them pay the fine, but you're not going to throw them in jail. That's not the world we live in. I know it happened in Oakland County, and I know it's happened in a couple other places.
You know what I thought of that.
But that's a troubling.
That was bullshit. That was.
So what if your kid goes out, your 14-year-old kid goes out and steals a car? Should they throw you in jail for it?
Well, if you know he was stealing cars or she was stealing cars.
I mean, well, 14-year-olds can steal a car. You don't lock the parent up for that. You can hold them civilly accountable, but criminally, I have a problem with that. Criminally accountable.
You know who steal the cars in Detroit? Teenagers.
Well, Les is looking at the big picture. He thinks it's a summer distraction to shield the nefarious behavior of the oligarchs and war contractors. Thank you, Les.
I know. These kids don't have shit to do. There's nothing to do downtown for teenagers. General Motors came and closed the movie theaters. Magic Johnson was building movie theaters in different cities around the country. He came to Detroit, and Dennis Archer, the administration, ran him out of here. It's unbelievable. Why a downtown that don't have a movie theater, that kids are coming downtown, they want to come to the movies, be at a restaurant or whatever, and enjoy. Where's the skating rinks? Where's all this other stuff that you can have downtown? Not everybody play midnight basketball. Fuck a basketball. You know, we got too much basketball. You know,
Thank you to Bragg, and thank you for Stephanie. That was my point exactly. You can hold people accountable, but I'd rather see the people that commit the crime be held accountable. 14-year-olds out in the middle of the night. Sometimes these kids are pretty creative. They sneak out of the house. Sometimes their parents who didn't sneak out of the house and their parent not.
Yeah, and you get in trouble. But a lot of them don't. They just walk out of the house.
Well, I'm not saying they should be held accountable.
They don't have to sneak out. And yes, there are homeless people they chasing out of the rents and because it's empty. I'm not surprised that they're gonna tear down some of this shit. Tear it down now.
I'm not giving the parents a free ride. I'm just
you
differentiate between.
You sound like you don't want to arrest them. Some of these people, I'm not saying keep them in jail like the Crumleys with that Karen McDonald over in Wayne County. It's like she thought this was going to take her to Lansing, Oakland County, and Oakland County, Wayne County. What's the difference? Thought she was going to be the Attorney General. Didn't work that way. And now she crying foul. And now you need to change the way these people are selected to run. I said it ain't broke. You don't need to fix it. But the bottom line is, some of these parents need to be held accountable.
I don't disagree with that at all. But I don't think the Crumleys, the Crumleys. You can charge somebody with neglect. You can charge somebody you can do all those things, right? Neglect is.
They got railroaded. They got railroaded because if it wasn't at Oxford, and that happened in Detroit, where the kids got killed and shot, they wouldn't have did shit to the parents in Detroit. But they were in Oxford, and the school system fucked up because they did not check that boy's backpack. They had every reason to believe that he was a danger to the schools, and they ignored it. And here we have it. And now I saw the sheriff of Oakland County on TV tonight saying they're not going to tolerate it. I say he talking plenty shit. Because when it happens, we'll see. And they got a date where they're going into Pontiac to a Pontiac takeover. These fuckers put out flyers and shit. They on the internet.
So
they daring the police. Hey, we gonna do what we gonna do. Well, let's take a break, and we'll come back and let's continue the conversation.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. Are you living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, or maybe you know someone who's in the same situation? The probate process may be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. We have several nonprofit partners who have free attorneys who can assist you. Contact our office, 313-224-5990, or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. Don't lose your family property. Some of these properties have been in the family for 4 or 5 generations. Contact us now. We're here to help.
Okay, we're back. You want to read some of our comments, Jim?
I do. Les says, I doubt that white teens are doing takeovers too, but the media's selective in their coverage. I think you're absolutely right, Les. We've talked about that many times on this show. It happens all over. My question to you, Adolph, my question to everybody else, Les and Eric and Miss Suzuki and Jill, are, what is a teen takeover? What is the crime? If we don't have a crime, if we have people gathering, all you're talking about is loitering, right?
Well, no, they I was down in the middle of the teen takeover. They fighting each other. Listen, they running, they knocking people to the ground. They scaring people.
And that would be a crime.
Yes,
But
that's a
there
crime.
might be, we talked about this before, there might be 500 kids. There might be 5% of them that are committing crime. So we need to separate.
That's 50 kids. That's a lot of kids.
But that's how you start solving the problem. You separate the people that are committing criminal acts from the kids that are loitering. You can't lock up 500 kids for loitering.
No.
These teens see the power. Tamari, we can guide them to use that takeover power for political power to get what they deserve. Thank you, Tamari Duela. We can't even get the parents to come to school meetings, so they probably won't come to a town. Go ahead, Ada.
Listen, the teens were the backbone of the civil rights movement. They went in the lunch counters and got beat and got food thrown on them. Whatever. They rode the buses, the freedom rides, where they wouldn't. Once they got south, they wouldn't go in the back and segregate themselves. It was the teens that took the brunt. So teens have done a lot of great things. They are the foot soldiers. These are not foot soldiers. I don't know what they are.
I'm trying to separate.
They some fucking idiots.
But how many of us raised our hand that went to see there was going to be a fight behind the party store at 2:30 on Tuesday, and 200 kids showed up, but there was only 10 kids that were causing trouble? I was there. Were you there, Adolph? Were our viewers there? You were never there?
No, because I heard it, but I wasn't there, and I didn't want to be there. You know, I had some kids call me, you scared. You're fucking right. Listen, I don't have to deal with that shit. And I've been in situations where my peers had guns and wanted to shoot somebody. And I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm not, I don't need to deal with that kind of shit. So nothing has changed, whether it was 50 years ago, whether it's today, kids are kids, and we undone shit. So these kids come up with something new. Boom. Remember the craze a few years ago where a group of teenagers, they meet on the internet and say, let's go to Nike store.
Yeah.
And they go in and they go to the Nike store, and boom, when they left the Nike store, they stole half of the merchandise. California and San Francisco unclosed CVS's, Saks, Neiman Marcus, because folks went in there and just started stealing with so many of them at one time. What can you do? You couldn't arrest all of them. So this is nothing new.
It's going on everywhere. It always has.
In San Francisco, they created a task force. Same way in LA. And they unstopped. Nah, that shit died down. Not that people don't steal, but they don't do it like they were doing it. So yeah. So here we are. Now we're doing a team takeover, and we got some people say, Leave those kids alone. Don't mess with the kids. Oh shit! Yeah, you can't leave them alone. Got to do something.
Tamari says organize them to demand reparations. You might be onto something, Tamari. There may be a better way to use their energy, right? There may be a more effect when you talk about the 60s, Adolph. These kids were going to places like Alabama and Mississippi, the young people, right? Maybe we need to maybe there's an opportunity to redirect them. And that's all kids, not just big city kids, that's small town kids, right? There's a change. We were more peaceful. Big crowds would meet at Jill knows what I'm talking about. Heinz Park. No one was looking to fight or vandalize.
Yeah,
but sometimes drinking and partying and sometimes bad things happen, right?
Yeah, Mr. 1213 said that I have a feeling that the looting is gonna happen downtown. Hope not. Then you see some violence and
Eric responds. Yes, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, Eric is responding to Mr. 1213 there. White Chaldean and other Middle Easterners. This is not. This is all kids. This is kids after football games that want to fight the neighboring. This goes on all fall in Birmingham and Trenton and Sterling Heights and everywhere else, right? So the question is, you got to go to like you said, Adolph, you got to go to the leaders and yank them out of the group. It's just like any other type of leadership. You got to go get the head of the union and get him by the hair and pull him aside. Whenever there's a hostage.
There's no question. Oak Park used to play Ferndale in basketball. They had to stop it because there was always a fight after the game. Several fights. All right, why? But that's the way it is. Whoever lost, and usually Oak Park lost, and there they are fighting. And
but that goes back to Les's point.
It's usually the kids that don't even go to the school.
They just want to be in the middle of something.
Right.
And that's what a lot of young kids, they want to be at the happening, right? So they're at the happening. They're not committing any crimes. How do we separate those young people from the people that are committing the crimes? You got to be in them. You got, like you said, Adolph, offline, you have to infiltrate.
We got cops that look younger than the high school students. We got police cadets. We got undercover officers. They all the fireworks, the Grand Prix. You don't know who a cop because they there. And I don't know, man.
Yeah, well, I think before we indict every young person that's in Detroit on a Saturday night, if they're loitering, we need to tell them you better go home or you're going to be arrested.
If they out after the curfew, then they're going to be arrested. So you don't arrest them.
And to the chief's credit, the night that he was on TV, whatever, 2 weeks ago, he said that they had apprehended 60 people and they were charging it. They were considered. I don't know if they charged them or released them, but they were out there doing it. You're not going to stop a thought. There's however many cops per thousand. There's 3,000 cops in Detroit. If 10,000 kids show up at Hart Plaza, like the Electronics Festival, 50, 60, 70, 100,000 people, they're going to have their way. The police.
Did we have any problems with the Electronics Festival?
Not that I know, but think back to some of the fireworks incidents in the 90s. There were issues. There's only so many people to stop that, right?
Because people want to fight, and they just love to fight, and they love to fight in my era. They love to fight in your era, and they love to fight right now. So, the chief, nobody. Listen, he has a tough fucking job. He's a cop. And I think he has a game plan, but he has a person to answer to. That is the mayor. The mayor has to be tough. It's not any that we're gonna you can calm down and we're gonna get you. Are they gonna believe it? Fuck no. You know, no. We got to have something. I hope nothing happened this weekend with the fireworks. We got not the fireworks. Fireworks is coming up, but we got the Grand Prix, and the fireworks is coming.
I think about
they got to be ready.
We've had trouble at Tiger Stadium in the 80s when the Tigers were playing. We had trouble, at Cobo
The Lions game, people fight all the time. You don't even hear about it. The drunks.
That's my point.
Drunks. Yeah, no problem. But
ethnic festivals in the 70s. Remember those?
Right. I blame some of this media shit.
I think that's true.
But if you saw 500 kids or 1,000 kids running downtown and shit, playing tag with the Detroit Police Department, then you saying, damn, this is out of control. Yeah, it is out of control if it happens every weekend somewhere. Yeah, it's out of control. It happens one day, one weekend, it happens. But you don't have the malls like you used to, where kids can go to Northland, Eastland, Fairland. You don't have that shit. They got nothing. They got nothing. So, and I went up to Oakland Mall. That fucker's half empty. There's nothing. Shit. So everybody can't go to Somerset or Novi. They got no movie theaters in Detroit, I guess, at the Bel Air. That used to be the old Americana. And they had so many problems there, they had to start checking you for weapons. I stopped going years ago.
Where was that? DeQuinder? 8 Mile and DeQuinder? Or something?
Yeah.
That? Yeah.
There used to be a Target over there too. There was a nice shopping area when Coleman got them. They built that, and when he left, they moved out, and and somebody bought the movie theaters, but it's not the same. Yeah.
Thank you, DeBragg, for your comments about earning your master's with some help. We appreciate you sharing that information, and now you're helping somebody else get it. Work towards their educational goals. During the movement, there's serious money in town, and they moved some of it. I don't know. I saw them interviewing some kids, and whatever. They weren't teenagers. They were probably in their mid-20s, and they were wasted. They shouldn't have been on TV.
But
a player slapped a fan at a Lions game. It wasn't an indictment on our society as a whole. The media has made kids. I think there's some truth to that, Mr. Duckett. They're always looking for a story. The news is looking for a story, and this is their story right now. This is their summer story.
Where the player, the guy thought he can say anything to a player.
Yeah,
and he found out that he can't.
He's been harassing him for years.
Yeah.
And thank you, G Money Hollywood, for joining us tonight. We appreciate your comments. That's what boys do to get off aggression. Boys need to release. Miss Sheila. Just follow the former president and tell them don't. G Money says it's been over 400 years of bondage. What will change things? Come on, let's be real. Who's going to change the system? Tell me who. Thank you, G Money. The DPD killing a young black man in his bedroom this morning could have been prevented, I contend. Thank you, Les. I don't know that much about it. 20-year-old man. I guess he'd been involved, or allegedly, I'll say allegedly because I don't know, involved in another shooting. And there was a 17-year-old man that apparently the police in Detroit were also targeting. Sadly, that 20-year-old man lost his life. It's a tragedy, regardless of the circumstances. Thank you for your comment. America got rich off their ancestors, blacks, and the root of black-white wealth gap. Thank you to Mary. Eric says reparations won't happen in your lifetime. And I'm saying that if you are 20 years old right now. There are plenty of issues with the fireworks, Eric says. My step dad grandkids were arrested years ago and charged with assault after fighting down there and did time. Les, if there was issues during the movement festival, they know how to keep it quiet. I'm not sure.
Well, there's no question. There was issues when we had the Super Bowl.
Sure.
And I'm still asking, right? They never found the killer of the young white girl that came from northern Michigan. It hadn't never been in Detroit, was standing in line to go into a restaurant, and a couple pushed her out the way to get in front of her. It's a long line. And she said, "Why are you doing this?" And the guy turned around and shot her, killed her. They covered it up. They didn't. It was a story that, if you blink your eyes, you missed it. Yeah, they know the media know how to downplay, and they know how to make it. They know how to embellish it and shit. And right now they waiting on the kids. Please come. This is the Detroit News and the Free Press. Please come downtown. We need you to come because we got a story to write.
I got you, Stephanie. Thank you. Deborah Harris. Hello, Deborah Harris. And G Money had made a point. G Money, you're following right along with what I was trying to say. I'm glad you said it. You cleared it up. But when it's sporting events, when it's drinking and carousing and crashing cars and fighting at the Lions game, which I went to for about 10 years, it typically is white folks. You're right on that. The events at Hart Plaza in the 70s, some of the concert events when there was a big show in town. It's all kinds of people create all kinds of havoc, wreak all kinds of havoc in our community. Jill's talking about Cobo and
I used to complain when there was a Lions game and the police they was tolerant of people drinking on the streets.
On the streets, which is a violation.
But if there's a rap concert, they was towing cars and they was ticketing people for open containers. And I'm like, why? I had the police chief calling me. We not. Yes, you are. I've seen it. Like you tell them, the rap concert is dangerous, but the Lions game, they've had people beating up each other and doing. I hated to go. I went to Chicago and saw the Lions at Soldier Field. I left at halftime because that folks fighting each other, and you got on Lion gear, Chicago fans cursing you out, calling you all kind of names, and people was fighting. Oh man, I said, this is what they do. I would never buy a season ticket to see football. Not pro football. So
thank you, Les. I appreciate your comment. DeBragg, I know you got something important to say there. Go ahead and if our children knew that their people are the reason America is rich, it will blow these children's minds. Tamari.
These children ain't got no
point,
damn
Stephanie.
mind.
Drugs during the movement, they come all around the world. Miss Sheila, you're absolutely right. And Jill was talking about Cobo back in the 70s. I may have been there one or a couple hundred times myself.
Well, the Earl Flynn's and the BKs stormed the stage at Cobo and stopped the Average White Band concert. They blocked the traffic on the fucking lodge, and they ran downtown. They terrorized downtown for a night. And Coleman Young got on TV and said he issued a warning. He said, "I got the baddest goddamn gang in town. They wear blue uniforms with silver badges, and we're gonna take back our city because they did their thing, but but with the help of the state police, the Wayne County Sheriff, and the police department, and we had more cops back then because they had laid off 1,000 cops. He immediately called back 500. He was like, we got to get a handle on this. And guess what? They knew one thing about the gangs. They was organized. They knew who was the leaders and stuff, and that's who they went after. That's who they went after. You don't see any Earl Flynn's and BKs today. You might see some other gangs, but you don't see those generational gangs that you go to Chicago or you go to LA where my great grandfather was in the Bloods and the Crips.
Right.
And I'm in
Not
the
traditional,
Bloods
right?
and the Crips.
It
didn't happen here. You got gangs, but we don't have that generational gangs. Coleman Young, and said it bothered him because he always criticized. He was a critic of the police department.
Yeah.
He ran on let's change the police department. But he used the police department and he knew what they could do, and they did it. There's no question about it. People were scared to come downtown because that's when you had businesses moving out. Like, man, it was unbelievable. So, yes, this is nothing new. This is nothing new.
Thank you, DeBragg, for clearing that up. I appreciate that. You're a credit to the community. I appreciate that. You're helping people get out from underneath that heavy debt, and I understand. Thank you. What else?
Yeah. So we'll see what I tried to get to come on the show tonight, but he was up in Mackinac was the sheriff, Ray Washington.
Who is MCOL certified, by the way.
What?
He is MCOL certified. He has his police certification.
Yes. Yeah.
Raphael Washington does. So I was going to mention that earlier. And his staff, I give him credit for that. His staff are certified.
But as his chief of staff said, they up in Mackinac. Everybody up in Mackinac, which is a waste of fucking time. You know, it's just a lot of bullshit talk. But we're getting, because this shit is not going away. But I'm going to end on this note. Where's VD? Where the fuck is the school board? Where the fuck are the city council? Where's our reps? Where's our county commission? If the mayor is have people stand beside when she talk about what she's gonna do, it should be these elected superintendent, not your political hacks that you make stand with you. I never seen that. Coleman Young never had to have a blanket or a teddy bear to deal with the media. I call that a blanket, a teddy bear, or a pacifier, or you suck your thumb. You the mayor, be the mayor. This is prime time. I say you're not ready for prime time. Jim,
thank you, Tamaya, for joining us. Tamaya Brown, Deborah Harris, Tamari, DeBragg 921, Go G Money Hollywood, Eric Brown, our colleague, Miss Sheila. Did I say Deborah Harris? I think I did. Kenneth Reed, Anna Duela. Thank you all for being a part of our show tonight. I want to know where the Riverside roller rink was. I I think Joe was everywhere in Detroit.
Well, I can name the theaters: the Beverly Theater on Grand River, the Riviera 24 Hours on Grand River, the Linwood was in the Linwood, the Dexter, the Northtown, the Mercury. We had a ton of theaters that kept you that kept you busy. You know.
Let's just not indict all the young people because they want to be.
No, but they was doing the same shit. I went to the theater one Sunday. I couldn't watch the movie. I'm about 14. They running up and down the highway. I said, I'm never coming to this theater again. I wanted to watch the movie. But kids are kids, and they do what kids do. We'll be back on Friday at McShane Saturday. Jim?
If you want, that's where if our guests want to, we can be anywhere you want to be. It's your show. Be glad to be.
It's my show?
It's your show.
My show?
This is the Adolph Mongo show, and we're all just, we're just complimentary pieces, just like all our other friends out here are complimentary pieces. That's what we look at it. Thank you, Mr. 1213, for joining us. Thanks for being a part of it.
I had somebody tell me they was conceived at the drive-in, the West Side Drive-In. I said, I don't want to hear that shit. So, hey.
I do, Jill. I remember Wonderland, the Mai Kai, and the Terrace. I'm a downriver guy, so I do remember some of those spots. Thank you.
No question. We'll be back on Friday. Have a good evening.